Good afternoon, everyone. Hello? Oh, I don't think there's anybody there. That's okay. I'll just check back. Okay.
I turned it off. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Could everybody please take their seats? I feel like I'm back in front of a classroom trying to get unruly students to sit down and be quiet. Good afternoon and welcome. And the fact that you're excited is totally appropriate. So welcome. Bonjour, Ani, Bonjour, Tanshi, Kwe Kwe. Thank you for being here on this really historic day, those of you that are in the room and those of you that are online, as we announce NOSM University's inaugural Board of Governors and Chancellor. My name is Joy Workington, and I have the honor of being the chair of the Board of Governors. Before we begin, and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, NOSM University respectfully acknowledges that our pan-northern campus is on the homelands of First Nations and Métis peoples. To offer our thanks and a reflection, I would like to welcome Francophone Métis Elder Juliette Denis to the podium.
Thank you so much, Joy. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. Salut, bonjour. Annie, Tanchi, Kwekwe, bonjour. A warm welcome to all of you. Chaleureuse bienvenue à chacune et chacun de vous. Whether you are attending in person or virtually, we are so glad that you could join us this afternoon. To start this wonderful event in a good way, I'm offering a small expression of gratitude on behalf of all of us. Savez, avant ça, à chaque fois que j'ai eu une invitation spéciale de NOSM, c'était pour fêter quelque chose de bien spécial puis des bien bonnes nouvelles à part de ça. Puis ça ici, ça va avoir de l'air, ça a de l'air que ça continue avec notre toute nouvelle université de l'École de médecine. Ça fait que pour ça, on dit un gros merci. Now, if you reflect on the difficult challenges we faced these past few years, COVID being one of them, you will surely appreciate that the universe could use a lot more positive energies these days. So for all those who make time to express gratitude for our many blessings, we say Chi Miigwech. Today, we are especially grateful to greet the members of NOSM University's inaugural Board of Governors and the inaugural Chancellor. We extend a warm welcome to all of them and offer gratitude to Creator for granting them a very special blessing, guidance, wisdom, leadership, and courage to help them tackle the huge responsibility being bestowed upon them today, so that they may govern our awesome NOSM University efficiently and effectively and make sound decisions for the greater good of our organization, medical students, faculty, staff, management, volunteers, elders and knowledge keepers, and all the communities that we serve. And for this, we say a heartfelt thank you. Nous exprimons aussi notre reconnaissance envers tous les membres du Conseil des gouverneurs provisoires de l'Université de l'EMNO, dont le terme prend fin pour leur grand dévouement et leadership tout au long de leur mandat. Et pour ceci, nous disons merci beaucoup. And last but not least, Creator, très chère Providence, we are grateful for the ongoing blessings, guidance, and protection you constantly grant us and our loved ones. May you keep us safe and in good health. And I will leave you with this inspirational quote by American philosopher William James, as it was published in the newsletter, email newsletter from Sudbury.com earlier this week, I believe. So it goes like this. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. Merci, miigwech. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. It is my honor to introduce you to NOSM University's inaugural Board of Governors. First, I want to tell you how these members were chosen. As dictated by the NOSM University Act, the Board of Governors is comprised of members who reflect the geographic and demographic diversity of Northeastern and Northwestern Ontario, including Indigenous, Francophone, and rural and remote communities. The board is responsible for the oversight of the university's governance and administration. And as part of its duties, the board appoints the president, the chancellor, and other key senior executives. As well, it includes the recruitment and appointment of the board itself. Membership of our board is drawn widely to achieve the balance of skills and expertise that are required to enable the board to govern effectively and meet its vision, mission, and strategic goals of the university. I am proud to say that there was an overwhelming response to our announcement of applying to the new university board. That's transpired in July of 2022. The selection and interviews were conducted by a committee which was made up of stakeholders from the region, including learners, staff and faculty, community, Indigenous, and Francophone leaders. In addition to the governors that were appointed, there are 3 newly elected governors, a teacher, a learner, and a non-teacher. That's a first for us. There are also 5 lieutenant governor and council appointees, 4 of whom are yet to be named, and 2 ex officio governors, the president and our incoming chancellor. All of these governors will start their terms on January the 1st of 2023. I have every confidence in the wisdom, capacity, and leadership of this board, and I am humbled to sit among them. Without further ado, I present to you NOSM University's newest governors.
Joy Workington. Mark Hurst. John Stenger. Sarita Verma. Craig Abatasaway. Imran Bega. John Bocage. Angela Carter. Christy Cote. Mark Hartman. Nancy Jacko. Virginia May Catt. Ashley LaRose. Sue LeBeau. Dawn Morissette. Shermer Ratner. Susan Soldan. Your inaugural NOSM University Board of Governors.
I would now like to invite our university president and vice-chancellor, dean, and CEO to the podium, Dr. Verma.
We have someone who needs the stool, someone who doesn't need the stool, and I think I'm in the middle here. So I think we're okay. I see many of the people who were announced just now. Would you please stand if you're here in the room? Ladies and gentlemen, really seriously, je vous présente le nouveau panel of governors. It's just so fantastic. And what needs to be said is that there were actually well over 100 people who opened the application. And we had an incredible committee co-chaired by Dr. Janice Willett, Madame Danielle Bélin-Jean-Corbin, and Mr. Ed Wawier. So we had representation who triple chairs, who then we had a substantive interview process. They all made it through. What you will note is that there is some continuity. And for some of these members, there is a one-year continuity because we are going through a lot. It is a fantastic journey. And so for that continuity, the chair, the vice chair, and the chair of governance will be staying on. Some of the people who are on the transition board are also staying because for financial, legal, other issues, it would be pretty hard for people to join Université de l'Amno and understand the complexity of how we've gone from 2 universities as our members and the homes to now becoming a freestanding independent medical university. Elected members. Wasn't just by statute. This is about democracy, representation, diversity. It is really astounding that for the first time, we will have 3 elected members, and they were elected fair and square. And I'm so pleased to see them at the table because before you, Dr., or not soon to be doctor, but Imran, learners were only on there if they happened to get appointed to the board, as well as teaching staff and non-teaching staff. This is huge. And then finally, to have representation from the people through Lieutenant Governor and Council, c'est magnifique. It is incredible. And it's such a great opportunity for us to hear from everybody when we take the direction forward for this great institution, which is now Canada's first freestanding independent medical university. So I'm excited to be here as the president, la présidente, and it's a long title, la vice-chancelier, doyenne et directrice rectrice générale of this great university. And I think in a few years, the future we'll see you now will be that the future is here now and that we have a lot to celebrate. There are big notes on here, by the way, that say, do not announce the name of the inaugural chancellor. They don't trust me because I go rogue. This entire speech that I just gave was not in the script. I want to thank the transitional board. When they became the transitional board on the 1st of April of this year, they had already been through about 15 months of, I would say, a roller coaster ride. We found ourselves in an insolvency with a major threat to the accreditation of our main degree, our MD degree, and a huge financial hit to us that we were actually this time last year quite concerned. And we were concerned about the endowments, multi-million dollars that are with Laurentian and Lakehead. And we were concerned about the future of our institution, the employees, the faculty, the loveliness of what we've started here as a medical school to be able to actually address the needs of Northern Ontario. And this transitional board helped a lot, and they guided me and our COO and others who had to navigate pretty bumpy waters. It's nice to have legal counsel, but it's also nice to have friends and people that I can call. Every single one of you, I see you, not the new ones, but certainly down the hall from me in Thunder Bay where Joy and her husband live. And I would text others to say, goodness, I've just got yet another threat looming on us, and what do we do? And with the skills that came forward, I really do want to thank the transitional board. So thank you very much. And then there are people who are leaving our board who are, through the process, we did have this full and transparent process in order to appoint the skills-based board that we need to be a full freestanding university. And so there are some people who are not staying on who were in that transitional board. And again, I want to extend to them my warmest thanks, and on behalf of all of you, to really express our love for you as part of our NOSM University family. You're not going far. I know where you all live. And I know I have work for you in other ways that will help you be part of our citizenship and our community. So merci, merci, merci beaucoup. Miigwech, chimigwech. It's really wonderful that you are part of who we are. And we'll have a party for you later on tonight. So thank you very much. So listen, we're halfway through our strategic plan. We didn't change our plan, but we did add one more thing. We have 4 strategic directions, and the 5th direction we add was becoming a university. Done. And part of that is actually establishing the governance, the chancellor being able to do all the amazing things that we're going to do. The future we'll see you now is actually in front of you. The description of the biographies and the names of the people who are coming onto the board and the incredible strengths and competencies that they bring are online. I think there's also a handout, Kim, with their backgrounds and their photos, so if you want to know more about them, but they come from all kinds of perspectives. And as our chair said, they represent the diversity of Northern Ontario. They come from small municipalities, large ones, Indigenous, Francophone, legal, thank you, financial backgrounds, really wonderful experiences in higher education, experiences as teachers, participants in curriculum development from the hospital sector, from the community sector. So we're going to have a great diversity of voices, and I don't envy Joy at all in trying to harness all of that because the enthusiasm is unbelievable. And as we go halfway through our strategic plan, we are committed. I reiterate, we're committed to the main themes of anti-discrimination, anti-racism, equity, diversity. That's what we stand for in Northern Ontario. That's who we are. We are truly the beacon of light for the future of not just healthcare, but higher education and research. Research will be a major focus for us as we become responsible for our own Tri-Council grants. But for now, we are going to maintain our relationships with Laurentian and Lakehead University. They will always be part of our family, and we will always be in Thunder Bay and Sudbury. We will always have our commitments to the Northeast and the Northwest. But in this context, we're leading this province. We're leading it with an unprecedented expansion of our medical education programs. We're increasing our medical school MD program to 99 students from the original, was it 58 or 56? Almost doubling. When you think about over 50% of them, choose family medicine. We are a solution to the healthcare problems in Northern Ontario and in the whole province. That's compared to 38% for the whole country. And if they do their residency here, more than half of them stay in Northern Ontario. So in 15 years, we've graduated over 800 physicians. That's just in 15 years. If we were like that other university down at the lake, a couple of them that have been around for a couple of hundred years, imagine what impact we're going to have. We've also graduated dietetic interns in 15 years. We've had physician assistants and physiotherapists. We've had great clinician scientists and great researchers. We're inventing a Francophone curriculum that is going to lead the way in offering people culturally competent Francophone healthcare. We're creating an Indigenous pathway where we're going to actually help people learn how to work side by side with traditional healers and to learn what it means to be in an Indigenous program. And we have a rural generalist pathway. So our innovation is incredible. And we have a continued commitment to planetary health. I don't think you can do any of this without recognizing that we actually are living in a world that is suffering from massive explosion of technology and virtual medicine and all kinds of challenges while the planet is continuing to suffer. So we have to maintain our ethics and integrity. Our graduates, some of whom are here, are change makers, and they are leaders by all measures, and they are staying in Northern Ontario and making a difference. And so NOSM University, Université de l'Emno, is part of the solution. We are giving answers to the problems. We are creating knowledge. We're creating knowledge application, knowledge transfer, knowledge dissemination. We are going to have an amazing impact in all kinds of ways, not just education, but as I said, in research, discovery, and scientific leadership. We're going to be a full university. So we're beginning our major fundraising approach towards raising, in addition to bringing our endowments home, up to $50 million with the Future We'll See You Now strategy. And it was kickstarted by an astounding gift from FDC Foundation of $10 million, and they've charged us to match that. I'm very excited to say that we expect to not only recoup our endowments, but we're going to hit that target before I finish my first term in a couple of years. By all accounts, in the last 3 years, I think we've achieved greatness, but the big part is yet to come. And as I said, the future will see you now, but the future will be soon at our doorstep. We will make history. And in that regard, let me tell you something. We had a great task ahead of us this summer, chaired by Joy Workington, to look for our first chancellor. And, you know, for the students, I will tell you, this is a big deal. This means that we not only grant our own degrees, we have someone who's the titular head of the university, and it was a great process. A lot of names came up, and our major consultation was with community. Community played a large role in helping us understand who did they want to see at the helm of NOSM University. And this person's name came up over and over and ultimately rose to the top of our list. Well, you know, we did a little dance together, and we worked tirelessly with this committee, and ultimately this amazing person, this wonderful citizen of the world, this spectacular leader, and someone that I am just so excited to introduce to you, has agreed to become our inaugural chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce this person to you.
When you step across that place where light leads into darkness, there's something solid to stand on, or you'll be taught to fly. Well, I grew up in the huckleberry patches of northern British Columbia in the 1960s and 1970s. I had lots of dreams for myself. I want to be someone in the world who does something that helps other people. You don't know what a word is to describe it back then. All you knew is that people expected way less of you in your life. You weren't to dream of being an astronaut or a doctor or a great artist. Those weren't dreams for you. That because you were an Indian, you were going to grow up to be a drunken on welfare. That was your destiny. And it was all around us. And little did I know that while this was all unfolding, that the government of Canada was literally out hunting for kids like me to put me in residential schools. Well, no one in my family had gone to high school, so I didn't even know what the inside of a high school looked like. But one of a distant family member came and was talking about this place where you can go and learn just about stuff you want to learn about. And it was called the University of British Columbia. And I was always captured by this justice stuff, but I was turning it around in my own mind about how to solve it. And so I ran out of money after my undergrad. I was in debt because I worked a bunch of jobs doing it, and I had to pay it off. So I started being a child protection worker, and I started to see the First Nations kids coming in at far more higher rates than everybody else. And the reasons why were so clear to me. It was like the federal government is giving less funding for these kids, even though the residential schools has happened. And so the predictable is happening. When you create terrible conditions, you pile on more trauma, then there's going to be more children in care. There was a call from a family when I was working in the Squamish Nation, and the young boy needed a new standing frame, cerebral palsy. The one he had was being held together with duct tape. And I had worked off reserve for many years, and I knew that all I needed to do is get an occupational therapist in there. They would do the assessment, and we'd make sure that happened. We did all that, and then the government of Canada said, oh, well, we can't give him a new standing frame. He just had mobility equipment a couple years ago. He's going to have to wait another 3 years for this. That's the kind of stuff where I thought, okay, now look, I might not be the smartest out there. I might not be the most capable. I definitely don't have the most experience, but I gotta do something. We were out there as folks on the ground, and we were trying to figure out ways of addressing that inequality in federal funding. But also we wanted to learn from one another. Like, how are we doing this? Like, how are we supporting families, even though we're getting far less support funding than everybody else? And so it was really that developed what became the Caring Society. We were able to get some success with Jordan's Principle, which plugs some of the gaps in healthcare for First Nations children. But there's other inequalities that are still languishing out there because the federal government funds public services on reserve, and in most cases underfunds them dramatically. So it's everything from basics like water to sanitation, broadband access, which is so important when we're looking at things like telemedicine, etc., education, early childhood programs, recreation, and just fun places for kids. You know, like, I really am a big believer in making childhood just childhood. And some of those basics that you would expect to see are not always available in First Nations communities, because having skilled, culturally based physicians available to persons in northern communities throughout Canada is part of ensuring that those health inequalities are addressed. NOSM University is a major part of the solution. I'm Cindy Blackstock, and I'm honored to be the inaugural Chancellor of NOSM University.
Good afternoon, Madam Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs. Online with us, je vous présente le premier chancelier de l'Université Lemno, Dr. Cindy Blackstock. A member of the Gitxakan First Nation, Cindy is a professor at the McGill School of Social Work and executive director of the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society. She has worked in Indigenous children's rights for over 30 years and is working with others to promote culturally based equity for First Nations children and their families using a combination, something I love, public education, engagement, and litigation. She's known mostly for her work on Canadian Human Rights Tribunal human rights landmark ruling in 2016, but she's continuing, Cindy, even yesterday, I believe, to continue to fight for those rights and to launch appeals and cases to get true equity. And your true passion working with children is to address the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation's calls to action. Thank you so much for joining us. We are looking forward to seeing you and installing you in May at our first convocation. And I invite you to make some comments to the group today.
Well, thank you Dr. Verma. It is a real honor to join you from unceded and unsurrendered Algonquin territory here in Ottawa, and I pay my respects to the Anishinaabe Nation, Anishinaabe Nation, Grand Council of the Treaty 3, and the Métis Nation of Ontario, as well as all Indigenous peoples and persons of diversity who have joined later and live on those lands. It is a privilege, and a very humbling privilege, to work with community and with NOSM to be the very first chancellor of this important university. And when Dr. Verma asked me to do this, one of the most important and convincing pieces was the fact that the community had been a part of the process and had, for whatever reason, decided to put my name forward. That type of authority model, when you're working on the authority of the people who are doing this very sacred work of loving health and loving justice, is something that you have to embrace in life, even when it's scary. And I was so privileged to be thought of in this role. And it's also an opportunity for me to give back to a doctor who inspired me, Dr. Peter Henderson Bryce, who is the first Chief Medical Health Officer of Ontario, who had, with a lot of moral courage, blown the whistle on the unnecessary deaths of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children in residential schools. Now, he did everything in his power at that time in 1907, 1908, and through to the early 1920s to draw attention so that the reforms would be put in place that could save these children's lives. But unfortunately, despite all of his efforts, the government didn't really respond to that. And he had a famous saying, and that is that the work did not get done. It was the lament that he left with his family. When I see the work of all of the students, of the faculty, of the staff of NOSM, the Board of Governors, of the Transitional Board, and of great leaders like Dr. Verma, I understand that together we can ensure that the work does get done for Dr. Bryce, that no person living in a northern, remote, or rural community or within the cities is left behind by a universal healthcare system, that people receive the loving and respectful healthcare that honors their diverse experiences, their diverse identities, and their rights as a person, and their Indigenous rights as Indigenous peoples. So I have a lot to do in this role. And I am going to do everything I can to live up to this really amazing honor. And I serve as at your request, and I will do everything that I can to bring honor to this amazing endeavor. And I am so excited to be joining you. Thank you very much, Dr. Verma.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor. And yet to be installed, you will be installed on May 26th next year at our convocation in person. It's a funny word, installed. I'm not sure what that means. I usually think it means, you know, fixtures of some kind. But I hope that you will be a fixture of part of our great institution, and you will pave the way for future leaders to actually aspire to this wonderful role. Being the inaugural chancellor means that you are going to set a standard, but also you're going to be a role model for our learners and for all of the people who look to you as an inspiration, which you are, in standing up for what needs to get done and what's right. And so as we go forward, Dr. Blackstock, I ask you to join with me, and let's do what Michelle Obama said, which is let's go make some good trouble.
I am totally into good trouble, absolutely.
And everybody in the room knows that I'm good at that. So, you know, we'd love to hear from you. We do have an interview that I did with you that will be on the web with more questions. But as we're wrapping up, I'd like to ask you, do you have anything you'd like to say to our learners, the people who are aspiring to become caregivers and health providers and researchers and discoverers in healthcare, education, and research here in Northern Ontario. Anything you'd like to say to community at large?
Yeah, what I would say is that often we build cages around our own potential because I know when I saw that child who needed that standing frame, I was certain of two things. One is someone needed to do something about it. And number two, it wasn't going to be me. There had to be someone out there more experienced and capable. And so many of us wait around for that person who's more experienced and capable. It's only when we truly do what I love that Patrick Overton poem, when you step across that place where light leads into darkness, that you're taught that there's something solid to stand on, or you'll be taught to fly. People make the difference by just giving generously, and there will be other people around you who will support you in that endeavor. That is the real blessing of changing the world, is that when you're working on the basis of evidence, when you're working to do right versus be right, you're working in a community of others, that you're never going to be alone. And you'll always be honoring the ancestors who fought for the right things before you arrived on the scene. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the health kind of advocacy and done in a loving, just, respectful, and evidence-based way. And in doing that, we can better serve the community. And to the communities, it is an honor and a privilege, and I mean that seriously, an honor and a privilege to serve. And it's also something that I don't take for granted. It's something that is an authority that community gives, and then you have the responsibility to fill that with the best of who you are. And I'm going to try to bring the best of who I am and see if I can live up to that honor. And as Dr. Verma said, it doesn't matter if you're the first, if there is no second. And I am going to be really looking forward to seeing the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And maybe they're sitting in that room as a student at NOSM University already. And if you're going to be my successor, I would be so proud and honored to see that moment come. Thank you.
Well, it's been actually a pretty good secret. I want to thank the committee for the work they did and for the fact that they kept their lips sealed. Our communications team who really developed this fabulous video. Isn't it beautiful? Really well done, guys. You're going to be seeing more of our inaugural chancellor and our board of governors over the next several months. You should follow her on Twitter. She says some really interesting stuff, and I retweet her all the time because she wakes me up usually first thing in the morning. I think, oh, that's smart. I wish I'd thought of that. So there's wonderful stuff happening. As I said, we will have our first convocation as a degree granting institution at the end of May, and I'm hoping that at that point we will have a chance for some of you to sit down with our chancellor, especially our learners. I want you to have a chance to really get to know somebody who's made a difference and is still making a difference, and I know all of you have that within you, but also to inspire our faculty and our staff and all of you in communities. So let's do that in May for sure. I want to thank all of you for being on this journey today. It was really great to see people in person, and I'm glad to see a lot of the masking because COVID's not over yet. But as we go forward over the next several months, fasten your seatbelts, guys. It's going to be fun, it's going to be wild, and it's going to be a fantastic time. C'est fantastique. It's going to be a fun, history-making opportunity for us to have our chancellor, our board, fundraise, support students, expand our medical programs, and to really take the new direction as a new university. If you would join us after this event in the atrium, we do have lots of nummy things for you to chew on and a really nice non-alcoholic gimlet. Chat with each other. And to those of you online, merci beaucoup, miigwech. Thank you, Madam Chancellor, for joining us. We don't know what to say other than it is just fantastic to have you as part of our citizenship and our community. And I want to thank all of you today for being here today. We're signing off now. Have a wonderful rest of the season.